Imagine standing before a mirror 30 days from now and feeling a jolt of recognition and disbelief at the same time. The face is yours, yet something in the posture, the breathing, the quiet in the eyes speaks of a different person. You carry yourself taller, your thoughts land with more precision, you respond to life on purpose instead of reacting by habit. People sense it before they can describe it. There is weight without heaviness, calm without passivity, presence without performance. That shift is not cosmetic, it is the shape of a mind that finally belongs to itself. Be honest about how often you have tried to change and slid back into the old loop. A Monday promise turns into a Tuesday excuse. A next week becomes a next month. You told yourself you were waiting for motivation, or the calendar to clear, or the world to quiet down. What if the waiting is the very thing keeping you still? What if growth is not delivered by peace, but forged right in the middle of noise? The Stoics did not hunt for soft ground. They trained in weather. They stepped into discomfort the way a blacksmith brings metal to the flame, not to suffer for suffering's sake, but to shape something that can hold an edge. This is not a lecture about abstract ideas. It is a practice. It is a small, stubborn rebellion against the tide of modern life that tells you to keep scrolling, to keep consuming, to keep avoiding the silence where the truth of your life grows loud. The next minutes are about habits that do more than tweak behavior. They rewrite identity. No hype, no hacks. Only clear, steady actions that make you different in the best way. If a part of you is tired of drifting and ready to steer, then treat this as the moment you subscribed, not just to a channel, but to a way of living with intention. Discomfort. When was the last time you chose something uncomfortable on purpose? Most of us treat discomfort like poison and convenience like medicine. We rush toward anything that promises ease. We reach for quick sugar, quick entertainment, quick agreement. But comfort, left unchecked, softens the very fibers you need when life asks for strength. You do not temper steel by stroking it. You heat it and strike it. And in that deliberate stress, the metal can become a blade. Human beings are no different. Begin the day with one chosen challenge. Step under cold water for a minute and keep your breath steady. Sit in morning silence long enough to hear your first 5 automatic thoughts without judging them. Delay the first bite or the first notification to prove to yourself that you, not the signal, decide your next move. Walk barefoot in your own yard and feel rough ground underfoot to remind your body it was built to meet the world, not float above it. None of this is about theatrics. These are drills. They are the push-ups of the mind. The Stoics did not wait for life to test them. They staged small tests so that when larger storms arrived, they were not strangers to effort. It is easy to say you will rise to the occasion when everything falls apart. The truth is, we do not rise to the level of our goals. We sink to the level of our training. Most people are training for ease. They build days padded with convenience and then wonder why they feel brittle. Seneca warned that life often feels short because we spend so much of it on the cheap. Minutes spent avoiding discomfort erode the muscle of attention and intention. And like any muscle, what you do not train begins to fade. Cold showers are not about water. Fasting is not about food. Early mornings are not about productivity. Each is a rehearsal for meeting unease without negotiation. Every time you do something hard on purpose, you cast a quiet vote for the person you say you want to be. Strength in this form does not announce itself. It is the steady tone that remains when the volume of life drops. Jung observed that people will do almost anything to avoid facing their inner life. Discomfort removes the noise that makes avoidance possible. It is not the chill or the hunger that bothers you. It is the voice that surfaces when there is nothing left to drown it out. You meet the fears you parked in the corner, the decisions you dodged, the truths you postponed. Walking toward that meeting is the price of transformation. This is not permission to become a robot. It is instruction for building gravity. The world will spin. People will be people. Markets will whipsaw. Weather will turn. Gravity keeps an orbit stable. Inner gravity keeps a life aligned. Plato called self-conquest the first and greatest victory. That is the victory this training seeks. Not the conquest of other people, but the mastery of your own impulses to avoid, to excuse, to dramatize. Practice discomfort daily and you begin to trust yourself. Trust is not a loud emotion, but it is rare. It is the calm of knowing you have done harder things by choice and can therefore do this difficult thing by necessity. Confidence. Confidence is not swagger or slogans. It is the memory of actions that proved you will show up for yourself. Each deliberate discomfort is a receipt. The more receipts you collect, the less interesting your old excuses become. Challenges stop looking like personal insults and start looking like training opportunities. The story that said you are too late or too stuck loses its authority because your behavior has already contradicted it. Change rarely arrives as a trumpet blast. It arrives as a pattern. It hides inside repeated small decisions that seem too ordinary to matter until they add up to the kind of person who no longer negotiates with the bare minimum. You do not need a dramatic moment. You need a daily one. Choose silence instead of stimulation long enough to hear a real question. Choose the longer path because it builds a kind of strength the shortcut cannot provide. Choose to make a promise to yourself so small it is impossible to miss, and then refuse to miss it. Socrates warned that an unexamined life wastes the privilege of being alive. The trouble is you cannot examine anything while you are numbing yourself. Discomfort slows the world to a pace where attention can work. It removes the filler. It returns you to the present where decisions actually live. In that clarity, you meet the version of yourself that knows you were built for more than the steady drip of convenience. That version of you does not need to post a resolution. It demands a repetition. Begin with one act each day. Do it for identity, not for applause. Do it for alignment, not for optics. Practice because pressure will eventually arrive, and when it does, you will not need to fake readiness. You will have trained it. Stoicism is not about feeling nothing. It is about refusing to be governed by the wrong things. The point of training is not to chase pain. It is to remove the shock when life gets loud. Calm is not passive. Calm is capacity. The ego trap. There is a shadow that follows progress. Pride whispers that you are different now, that you have crossed a line others have not. It is true that you have changed, but the moment your identity requires being right, being seen, or being praised, you have handed your progress to the most fragile manager possible. Egos do not break loudly at first. They hairline fracture under pressure until everything starts to wobble. Growth is not proven by winning arguments. Growth is the grace to let an argument end without needing the trophy of the last word. Aristotle said that real wisdom begins with knowing yourself. Part of that knowledge is seeing when the need to be right is a mask for older fears. The fear of being overlooked, of being mistaken, of being exposed. Strength does not need to dominate the room. Strength lets a misunderstanding pass without letting your center go with it. Let someone else be wrong. Let them cut you off. Let them misread your silence. Choose stillness and watch what settles. Your breathing evens. Your chest loosens. Your identity unhooks from the addiction to control. That pause is not suppression, it is training. You are strengthening the muscle that allows you to choose your response when everything in you wants to bite. Ego gorges on approval, status, and spectacle. The Stoics did not spend their time polishing performances. They inspected themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that events do not have to disturb you. You do not have to turn them into a catastrophe. Real power is not the mic drop line or the dramatic exit. Real power is the quiet of someone who knows their own weight and does not drag it across the floor to prove it. This does not mean you accept disrespect or silence your truth forever. It means you choose your battles in service of your peace, not your pride. Each time you do, you become less reactive and more available to reality as it is. Jung believed that what irritates us about others can reveal unfinished work within ourselves. The next time someone triggers you, consider that the real conversation might be internal. Ask which part of you still needs attention. Ask where you continue to hand your energy to things you cannot steer. Restraint is not natural at first, it is practice. The habit of pausing instead of pouncing, breathing instead of barking, listening until you can hear the second thought behind the first. You could win the argument and lose your night to replaying the scene in your head, or you could release the win and keep your peace. There is a deeper liberty available. It does not depend on being heard or understood. It rests on the willingness to live by your standards even when the room does not clap. Socrates taught that the only true wisdom is recognizing the limit of your certainty. Each day gives you moments to let go of the urge to control and the itch to correct. In those small releases, you discover that stillness is not weakness, it is mastery. You do not need to prove yourself to secure your place. You earn your place by keeping your center in rooms designed to shake it. As this practice deepens, life grows lighter. Conversations become less about strategy and more about connection. Your mind stops playing chess with every sentence. Your heart softens, not because you retired from effort, but because you outgrew the need to win at everything. Power matures from force into presence. You walk away from noise because it no longer pays dividends. This is the depth the Stoics pursued. Not survival of conflict, but transcendence of it. Not management of ego, but release from it. The view from above. When the day is done and your head meets the pillow, give yourself altitude. Close your eyes and picture your room from the ceiling, then from the roof, then from the sky. Watch the map of your life shrink until the day's friction loses its edges. The comment that stung becomes a tiny sound. The email that knotted your stomach becomes a dot you cannot even see. The world keeps moving whether you squeeze it or not. Marcus used this practice to return to proportion. He reminded himself that life can end at any hour and used that truth as medicine, not morbidity. It dissolves fake urgency. It clears space for what is actually worth your remaining attention. Perspective is not apathy. It is accuracy. He ran an empire and still chose stillness, not sleepwalking. Stillness. When you weigh your troubles against the vastness of existence, you stop letting them run your schedule. You come back to the few things that matter most and you handle those with care. Jung wrote that we grow from the soil of our past, but we are not meant to stay buried in it. Sometimes you must rise above your own field and survey where you planted effort, where you scattered it, and where worry grew like weeds. From that height, you see how much of what steals your peace is optional. You count the hours spent defending pride, the nights ruined by futures that never arrived, the days you were present in body and absent in mind. Vision clears when you stop pressing your face against everything. Clarity. Clarity is power because it gives weight to what deserves it and removes weight from what does not. Emotions matter, but they make poor captains when left alone. They flare and fade. Perspective steadies the ship. It is a skill. You can train it. You do not have to pretend nothing matters. You only have to let things matter in the right proportion. When you zoom out, problems do not disappear, but they become carryable. You stop letting them crush you simply because you were standing too close. Plato pictured the soul as a chariot pulled by reason and passion. Without perspective, passion seizes the reins and drags you into ruts you did not choose. With perspective, reason can steer, and passion can provide power instead of chaos. The view from above is not cold detachment, it is emotional balance. You stop adopting every passing feeling as your permanent identity. You learn to let go because you finally understand what is actually yours to hold. Treat this as a nightly reset, not performance, restoration. Before sleep, give back the weight you picked up that does not belong to you. Loosen the grip on the need to finish every thread, fix every misunderstanding, and perfect every detail. Life is a loom of loose ends. Tugging them all at once tightens the knot. Breathe. Step back. Let some things remain unfinished without letting them define you. The world will turn without your anxiety as fuel. Put the day down like a bag you no longer need to carry through the night. Rise in your mind until you remember that you are not your thoughts and not your stress. You are not the sum of your worst moments. You are part of something vast that is still unfolding. Let that wideness slow your breath. Rest there. Wake lighter and clearer, ready to move as someone who has seen the sky, not as someone drowning in a single raindrop. Silence. Now look ahead with a different kind of plan. Not just what you will do, but who you refuse to become. This is the Stoic art of intentional refusal. We usually chase goals by addition. More tasks, more tools, more hustle. The wiser path begins with subtraction. Ask what you will set down, which patterns no longer fit, which identities you adopted to be liked and now need to outgrow to be honest. Plan the next month in reverse. Do not fill the calendar first, clear it. Write down what you will not tolerate from your inner world. I refuse to explain myself to people who will not listen. I refuse to posture with stress just because everyone around me is performing anxiety. I refuse to trade peace for approval. These are not slogans. They are thermostats. They lower the emotional temperature of your week. What drains you most is rarely the task itself. It is what you carry into it. The compulsion to be seen, to be validated, to be right in every room. Most of that effort goes nowhere. The privilege of a lifetime, Jung said, is to become who you truly are. You cannot become that person while chasing every impulse the world throws at you. You will not hear your own voice if you are busy auditioning for every audience. Freedom often comes from needing less, not having more. Less justification, less performance, less comparison. Mastery is subtraction. Remove what dilutes your presence and purpose and watch your peace return. Aristotle tied wisdom to self-knowledge. Self-knowledge requires silence and space, both impossible when your life is packed to the edges. Decide what you are no longer available for, not in bitterness, but in alignment. Maybe you are done answering every buzz. Maybe you are done defending your vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. Maybe you are done saying yes when your whole body says no. Protect your energy by refusing to pour it into empty buckets. Reverse planning shifts the question from what you will achieve to who you refuse to become. That clarity lifts pressure and gives your values room to breathe. You stop bending into shapes that do not belong to you. You build a peaceful life not only through achievement, but through boundaries. Each week, check your calendar through the lens of identity. Ask whether the week belongs to the person you are choosing to be. Boundaries. A boundary is a line that protects what matters most so that what matters less does not consume it. It is not a wall for hiding. It is a gate for stewarding your attention, your time, and your energy. Without boundaries, even worthy goals become crowded out by noise. With boundaries, even difficult seasons become navigable because you know what is non-negotiable. There are outer boundaries and inner boundaries. Outer boundaries define how you let the world touch your life. Inner boundaries define how you let your thoughts and impulses touch your actions. Outer boundaries sound like I no longer answer work messages after 8 in the evening unless someone's safety is at stake. Inner boundaries sound like I do not argue when I am hungry, angry, tired, or hurried. Outer boundaries are agreements you communicate. Inner boundaries are vows you keep when no one can verify them. Expect friction when you set a new line. People benefit from your lack of boundaries more than you realize. They get quick replies, endless favors, and your constant availability. When you shift, the first shock is not theirs. It is yours. You will feel guilt for choosing your standards. Remember that guilt is not a compass. Values are. You do not set boundaries to be unkind. You set them to stop being untrue to yourself. Write a simple boundary script for the 3 places your energy leaks most. If digital demands drain you, use a script like I check messages at 9, 1, and 5. If you need me urgently, call me directly. If meetings swallow your morning, use a script like I'm available for meetings between 10 and 12. For deep work, I am offline. If social obligations stretch you thin, use a script like thank you for the invitation. I am not available this week. I appreciate you thinking of me. A script is not stiffness. It is clarity before pressure arrives. Practice micro boundaries across your day. Delay your first phone check by 30 minutes. Close the door for 90 minutes of deep work. Stand up and walk away from circular conversations that go nowhere. Put your devices in another room during dinner. End your day with the same intention you used to begin it. These tiny gates are not about controlling others. They are about preventing your attention from being auctioned to the highest bidder. Create a boundary ladder. Level 1 is a line you keep when life is easy, like ending the workday on time. Level 2 is a line you keep under moderate stress, like holding your workout when a friend texts to distract you. Level 3 is a line you keep when everything shakes, like stepping away from an argument to breathe and return later. Training at all 3 levels ensures your boundaries are not weather-dependent. Expect pushback from your own mind. When you say no to an old pattern, your brain hands you a buffet of reasons to make an exception. That is normal. Write your reasons for the boundary where you can see them. I finish by 6 so my body can rest and think better tomorrow. I refuse to explain my vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. I do not pick up my phone in bed because my sleep is a sacred project. Reasons fortify lines when feelings wobble. Boundaries are strongest when compassionate. You can say no and still be kind. You can protect your energy and still respect the needs of others. You can choose to leave a conversation that is turning unproductive and still leave the door open for a better one later. The point of a boundary is not control, it is alignment. You are aligning your behavior with the person you are choosing to become. Use the 3 yes check before you commit to anything significant. If your mind says yes, but your calendar says no, and your body tightens, it is a no for now. If your calendar says yes, but your values say no, and your body resists, it is a no that protects integrity. A real yes feels clean. It costs effort, but not resentment. If resentment appears on the receipt, a boundary was ignored at checkout. Schedule a boundary review every Sunday. Look back at the week and circle the moments you wish you had chosen a line. Identify the earliest signal you missed. Was it tight shoulders, shallow breathing, a rush to reply, a rise in volume? Name it, then decide the smallest boundary that would have saved you. Put that line on your calendar for the coming week. Boundaries are not a personality trait, they are a practice. Accountability in the mirror. Accountability is the habit of telling yourself the truth about what you did with what you were given. It is not a public punishment, it is a private alignment. The mirror test is a nightly ritual that makes accountability practical. You sit with a pen and 1 sheet of paper and ask 4 questions. What did I do that matched my values today? Where did I drift? What did I learn? What is the smallest honest improvement I can make tomorrow? Keep your answers brutally short. 1 line per question. The goal is not to write an autobiography of your day. The goal is to train the muscle that looks without flinching. If you missed your training session, write I skipped the session and chose scrolling. If you raised your voice, write I lost my center when I felt disrespected. Do not chase explanations. Facts are enough. The learning comes from naming things as they are. Add a 2-minute honesty audit each afternoon. Set an alarm for a time when your energy usually dips. Close your eyes and ask, what am I avoiding? Which conversation am I postponing? Which task am I inflating to excuse inaction? Write the answers, take 1 step on the hardest item, and then return to your day. Accountability practiced in minutes prevents self-deception from growing into months. Every 7 days, complete a mirror review. Score yourself on your keystone behaviors from 1 to 5. 1 means not at all. 5 means every day. If a score declines, do not create a story that makes it noble. Reduce the friction instead. If your morning walk keeps failing, put your shoes by the bed, move your phone charger to the kitchen, and choose a route that begins at your front door without hesitation points. The mirror does not want drama. It wants conditions that make the right thing likely. 1 ritual. After all the reflection and effort, you anchor identity with 1 ritual. Think of it as a signature act. It is small enough to do every day. It is meaningful enough to change who you believe you are. It does not need to impress anyone. It needs to be impossible to confuse. When it is complete, you can say, I showed up today. Choose your ritual with care. It should have a clear start and finish. It should be measurable in minutes, breaths, pages, or steps. It should place your attention where your values live. Consider options like a silent 10-minute walk at dawn, a 1-paragraph night journal answering the mirror questions, a 3-minute cold water immersion, a 5x5 set of bodyweight movements, or a 4x7x8 breathing practice repeated 3 times. The act matters less than the identity it rehearses. Write a ritual contract in 1 paragraph. I perform my signature act daily before I open apps or after I brush my teeth at night. If circumstances change, I complete the 2-minute version before sleep. I do not double up tomorrow to pay today's bill. I restart immediately. I am not building a streak for ego. I am building a standard for identity. Sign and date it. Read it each morning for 7 days until it is memory. Create a failure protocol before you need it. If you miss a day, the next day is a micro version, not a grand penance. If you are sick, the ritual shifts to the most compassionate form available. If you travel, pack what the ritual requires and schedule when it will happen in the new time zone. Misses happen. Spirals are optional. The difference is a plan. Layer your ritual once a week, never more. If your signature is a dawn walk, add a gratitude sentence at the end on Sundays. If your signature is a night journal, add a 1-sentence letter to your future self on Fridays. Layering too fast turns identity into performance. Layering slowly turns identity into a root system. Protect the ritual with environmental design. Put the journal on your pillow after you make the bed. Place a towel and warm clothes by the shower before sleep. Set running shoes by the door and a filled water bottle on the counter. Design beats discipline when discipline is low. Your future self is the best assistant you will ever hire. Give that assistant a checklist. Identity locking. Identity hardens through repetition and proof. Craft a single sentence that captures the person you are practicing. I am the kind of person who keeps one promise to myself every day. Or I am the kind of person who returns to center before I speak. Write it on a card and place it where your eyes naturally land. The point is not slogans, the point is memory. Each time you complete your ritual, say the sentence out loud. You are casting votes for a future that will eventually feel like home. Remove friction from your desired identity and increase friction for the identity you are leaving. If you want to be the person who reads instead of scrolls at night, charge your phone in the kitchen and place a book on your nightstand. If you want to be the person who trains after work, keep a small gym kit in your car so the couch is not the first thing your body meets. If you want to be the person who speaks calmly under pressure, put a 2-breath rule in your notes app and review it before difficult meetings. You make what you want easy and what you do not want hard. Use social accountability with intention. Tell one respected friend the exact ritual you are practicing. Send them a single emoji when it is done. Choose someone who values truth over flattery. Do not build a public identity around your ritual. Public identity turns the ritual into theater. Theater wobbles in private. Keep the witness small and the promise large. Snapshot your identity every week by writing 3 lines. One thing I embodied, one thing I avoided, one thing I will embody next week. Keep these snapshots in a single place. Over a season, you will see the shape of your transformation without needing to dramatize it. The page will tell the story better than your memory. A practical 30-day plan. Day 1 through 3 is orientation. Choose your one ritual, write your boundary scripts, set up your environment, tell your single accountability partner. Do not chase intensity, chase clarity. You are laying the rails on which 30 days will move. Week 1 is discomfort. Practice one chosen discomfort each morning. Keep it short and intentional. End each day with a 3-line mirror. Protect one 90-minute deep work block without notifications. Go to bed 10 minutes earlier than last week. Prove to yourself that small, steady changes are more honest than grand vows. Week 2 is silence. Keep the morning discomfort. Add a daily window with your device in another room. Practice the view from above for 3 minutes at night. Reduce inputs by unsubscribing and unfollowing anything that trains your attention to chase outrage instead of insight. Choose one conversation this week where you listen twice as long as you speak. Watch how silence alters what people say next. Week 3 is boundaries. Announce your meeting windows. Use the 3 yes check before you commit. Decline one obligation that does not align with your values and send a kind thank you. Hold your inner boundary of no arguments when hungry, angry, tired, or hurried. Walk away, breathe, and return later. End the week with a boundary review and adjust scripts. Week 4 is integration. Keep the ritual, the discomfort, the silence window, and your current boundaries. Add one act of service that costs you effort, but not your center. Send a sincere note of thanks. Mentor someone for 15 minutes. Clean a shared space without announcing it. Service matures strength into usefulness. Daily, use a 3-point checklist. Did I keep my signature ritual? Did I practice one deliberate discomfort? Did I choose peace over pride once today? If you hit 2 of 3, the day moved you. If you hit 1 of 3, the day still counts because you refused 0. If you hit 0 of 3, you start again at the next breath without ceremony. Edge cases in real life. When you are ill, your ritual becomes rest and gentle breath. Discomfort becomes saying no. Boundaries become asking for help. Accountability becomes telling the truth about your limits. Strength includes softness. When you travel, pre-book your ritual time. Use bodyweight movements, hotel hallway walks, and journal pages ripped from a notebook. When family needs spike, reduce your ritual to its 2-minute form and keep the chain alive. All or nothing is the enemy of identity. Something daily is the ally. When grief arrives, throw out the scorecards and hold the standards that keep you human. Breathe, walk, hydrate, speak kindly. Write 1 line a day to the person you miss, or to the part of you that is hurting. Stoicism is not the denial of pain. It is the refusal to be owned by it. Rituals during grief are not about performance. They are about not losing yourself in the wave. When work explodes, return to first principles. One ritual, one boundary, one deep work block that actually matters. Remove every vanity task. Ask what would be most embarrassing to explain to your future self if it remains undone. Do that first. The rest can wait or die. When you slip, shrink the ritual and restart immediately. Do not punish yourself with double tomorrow. That trains a cycle of excess and crash. Train consistency over intensity. Write one sentence in your mirror journal that begins with, "Next time I will." Then move. Closing the loop. You do not need a different life to become a different person. You need a different way of meeting the life you already have. Discomfort builds capacity. Silence restores clarity. Boundaries protect alignment. The view from above returns proportion. Accountability keeps you honest. One ritual locks identity. Together they form a pattern strong enough to hold you when the world tilts. You will not need to announce what is changing. People will notice even if they cannot name it. You will answer messages slower and with more care. You will walk into rooms without the itch to dominate them. You will hear your own thoughts at a volume that makes sense. You will sleep without rerunning every scene of the day. The transformation will look quiet from the outside. It will feel profound on the inside. You do not rise by accident, you rise by choice. Quiet, daily, deliberate choice. The person you are becoming already lives in you. Every repetition invites that person to take the lead. Keep your center, keep your standard, keep your vow. When you need a reminder, return to the mirror, return to the breath, return to the one act that says, "I show up for me." Thank you for walking this path with Stoic Journal. Your presence here matters. When you are ready, choose tomorrow's discomfort now. Place your ritual tools where they belong and set the line you will refuse to cross. Then rest like someone you trust. Discipline versus motivation. Motivation is weather. It changes with the sky, with a playlist, with a headline. Discipline is architecture. It holds when storms break. Many people wait for the right feeling to act. They wait for inspiration, for validation, for a sudden rush of clarity. But the Stoics remind us that waiting for feelings is waiting for fate. Feelings are guests. They come and they go. Identity is the host. It decides who stays. Motivation says I will act when I feel ready. Discipline says I act, and then readiness arrives. Think of the craftsman who built cathedrals whose faces he would never see completed. Motivation could not carry him through decades of chiseling stone. Discipline did. Think of the athlete who trains in the dark winter when no one is watching. Motivation cannot survive that silence. Discipline does. Think of the parent who rises again at night to tend to a child, exhausted and uncelebrated. That is not motivation. That is devotion dressed as discipline. Ask yourself which life you want, one run by moods or one run by values. When you are tired, moods say sleep a little longer. Values say rise to keep your word. When you are tempted, moods say indulge. Values say remember who you said you are becoming. When you are discouraged, moods say quit. Values say begin again. Discipline is simply loyalty to your chosen identity, not loyalty to your passing state. Write your identity vow in 10 words or less. For example, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start, or I am the kind of person who meets difficulty with calm. Put it where you brush your teeth or where you lace your shoes. Say it aloud. The act will feel small. That is the point. Small anchors hold large ships steady when the waters rise. When motivation dies, there will be mornings when you feel hollow, afternoons when nothing moves, nights when you wonder whether any of this matters. Those are the crucial hours. Anyone can act when excitement is high. The difference between drifting and rising is made in the quiet days. Ask yourself one question. What is the smallest act that honors my vow today? Then do it. Do not enlarge it. Do not dramatize it. Just do it. If your vow is I am the kind of person who trains daily, then on your lowest day it might mean one push-up before bed. If your vow is I am the kind of person who writes, then on your lowest day it might mean one honest sentence. If your vow is I am the kind of person who practices calm, then on your lowest day it might mean one slow breath when irritation spikes. The scale does not matter, the signal does. The signal says, even when I am at my weakest, I still belong to myself. This is where shame and disappointment part ways. Shame says you failed and therefore you are broken. Disappointment says you fell short, but you are still whole. Shame paralyzes. Disappointment instructs. Treat each stumble as feedback, not a verdict. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that pain is often nothing but judgment layered on top of reality. Withdraw the judgment and the pain shrinks. The stumble remains, but it becomes useful instead of fatal. The longer arc, 90 days. 30 days is ignition. 90 days is identity. In 30 days, you can taste transformation. In 90, you can trust it. Here is how to extend the practice. Days 1 through 30 build foundation. You establish one ritual. You practice discomfort. You set first boundaries. You review daily in the mirror. Days 31 through 60 build expansion. You add one secondary ritual, such as journaling or breath practice. You test larger discomforts like a weekend fast from media or a silent afternoon. You review weekly boundaries and adjust. Days 61 through 90 build depth. You teach what you have practiced. Share your ritual with a friend, mentor someone starting their own. Write down your principles and explain them simply. Teaching carves grooves in identity. You cannot teach what you do not live. At the end of 90 days, review the arc. Ask yourself 3 questions. Who was I 90 days ago? What lines did I set that I once thought impossible? Which habits now feel natural that once felt unthinkable? Write the answers plainly. These are your living proofs. Keep them close for the days when doubt tries to erase your memory. The Stoic frame. The Stoics never promised ease. They promised strength. They did not say life would bend. They said you could. They did not claim the world would grow gentler. They claimed you could grow steadier. Epictetus was born into slavery and still taught that freedom begins with mastering yourself. Seneca lived with power and still wrote that most men are not free because they live for opinion. Marcus ruled an empire and still reminded himself that he could leave life this moment. If they found steadiness across such extremes, the path is wide enough for you. When you practice discomfort, you echo Epictetus, teaching that we cannot control circumstances, but we can control our response. When you practice silence, you echo Seneca, teaching that time is squandered not because it is short, but because it is wasted. When you practice the view from above, you echo Marcus, reminding himself that the present moment is all we own. Stoicism is not memorizing their quotes. It is rehearsing their courage in your daily context. When life breaks back, no plan survives contact with reality unchanged. Illness arrives, a job is lost, a betrayal cuts deep. Stoicism does not ask you to smile at these storms. It asks you to refuse surrender. When your ritual collapses under grief, shrink it to the smallest signal of self-trust. When your boundaries collapse under pressure, rebuild them one script at a time. When your silence is pierced by chaos, retreat to one breath and rebuild from there. The path is not linear, it is recursive. You return again and again. Each return is a victory. Remember the words of Epictetus, "It is not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters." This is not a cliche, it is mechanics. Events strike, your judgment interprets. Your interpretation determines your emotion. Your emotion fuels your action. Change the judgment and the chain changes. Pain remains, but despair can be dissolved. Difficulty remains, but defeat is optional. Service and Stoic strength. Strength is not hoarded, it is shared. The Stoics practice service not as charity, but as alignment with nature. Marcus wrote that, "What harms the hive harms the bee." Your ritual is private, but its fruit is social. As you grow steadier, use that steadiness to steady others. Mentor quietly. Listen longer. Serve without performance. Strength matures when it turns outward. Ask yourself weekly, how did I use my steadiness to reduce the suffering of another? The answer might be as simple as patience with a child, calm with a colleague, or presence with a grieving friend. These acts do not dilute your discipline. They sharpen it. They turn private strength into public contribution. They remind you that transformation is not only about you, it is about the ecosystem you touch. Closing images. Picture yourself 1 year from today, not thinner, richer, or more decorated. Picture yourself calmer in traffic, gentler with family, braver in decisions, clearer in speech, truer in silence. Picture the person who lives by values instead of moods, who keeps one promise every day, who stands rooted in storms. That is not fantasy, that is repetition. Excellence, Aristotle said, is not an act but a habit. You are building that habit one discomfort, one silence, one boundary, one ritual at a time. Do not chase the applause. Do not chase the perfect day. Chase the next honest action. You will look in the mirror 30 days from now and recognize someone steadier. You will look in the mirror 90 days from now and recognize someone unshakable. You will look in the mirror 1 year from now and recognize yourself finally. True strength doesn't come from waiting for life to change, but from the moment you take responsibility and train yourself every single day. So don't wait any longer. Begin today, because the person you aspire to become is already within you.